Hi, everyone. I'm Laura Tempest Zakroff, and I have something very exciting to share with you all. So, you possibly could be familiar with one of my best-selling books, Sigil Witchery. All right. And perhaps it's also its sibling, Visual Alchemy. Look, they're both squares. How amazing is that? Inside joke that I've said out loud. So I have taught Sigil Witchery hundreds of times to thousands of people all over the planet at this point. And because people are people, I recognize where there are common issues and problems that people are up against. And part of my job as a teacher, as a creator, as a witch is hoping to provide opportunities for folks to delve deeper, to make that practice easier to understand so that you become more comfortable with it. And there's actually two main things that I hear from a lot of folks when they first walk in or open their screen to one of my workshops. And it's like, oh, I'm not an artist. I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to do this. You will be able to do the thing. And two is, do I know any symbols or shapes? And like, what do they mean? Right? You do. You do very much. So I have devised a new oracle that helps you engage more deeply with symbols and shapes and the marks that are present in your life and really delve deeper into the meanings so that you can apply them for your magic. You can also use them for spellcraft, for ritual, for meditation. So many different things that you can do with this deck. And what is this deck? It is the Sigil Witchery Oracle. And yes, your eyes do not deceive you. That is a holographic finish. The box is a little beat up because this is a prototype and it went on tour with me. And anything that goes on tour with me gets a little beat up a bit because that's life on the road. So I'm excited to share the prototype with you. The deck will be available shortly. It's expected in the warehouse in early to mid-November, hopefully. Because it's so shiny, I think that's where a little bit of the delay is, but it's so worth it. And I know there's going to be folks receiving these as review copies, particularly folks who are tarot or oracle folks. And I just want to give you a little bit more reference and context behind this because it's not your basic oracle deck, which I know I'm saying that as I've created so far two other oracle decks, which are also not your basic oracle decks, the Liminal Spirits and the Anatomy of a Witch Oracle. They are very specific systems. And this one is no different. And that shouldn't be taken as something oh, it's going to be complicated or hard to learn. I think it's actually going to be easier because you're going to find a use for all of these decks. They're meant to solve problems. So this deck, as you can see, it comes in a magnetic closure box. Oh. Okay. And it's a pretty big box. It is bigger than the Liminal Spirits and the Anatomy of a Witch. Maybe about 30% bigger in box size. All right. Hard, fully covered. Look at that. There's even holographic in the text down here in the little details. Very nicely done. Great job, art team. Make me so happy. So once you open it up, you're going to see a very, very shiny instructional booklet. It is also a cat toy because if you catch a sunbeam with this, you will reflect all of the wonderful things across the seal. Your cats will be happy. Isn't that great? So as you see here, it says a guide for the Sigil Witch. All right, this little booklet. And we'll get a little bit more into that in a moment. And then you will see that there are two piles of cards inside. And I want to tell you, so there's 60 cards and they have different purposes. So we have 42 cards that are shapes, symbols, and marks. And then we have 8 design cards, 4 elemental cards, and then something else that's special. So let's start off with what those are. First, we have, I'm like, what do I get to show you first? I'm so excited. We have the symbols, right? So the symbols, I'm going to get a little bit blown out in here. As you see, it says vertical line, and you see that? It is holographic. we have the spiral. Ooh, shiny. And the closed dot. All right. If you are already familiar with Sigil Witchery, you might have seen some of these in chapter 2 because there are over 50 pages of symbols and what they mean right there in the book. And these, all 42 of those cards, because yes, I'm a dork, 42 is the answer to all things. All of these, right, they go from very simple with our closed dot to very, very complex. Right, not to say super complex because I still want you to be able to build with these, but let's consider the wheel, right, as a more complex card. Same with the key, right, a little bit more complex. But then you have things like diagonal lines, right, and you have the ladder, right. So 42 of these, very simple. And you see it's just the image with the holographic treatment, the text, and then there is, you can see a little bit there, there's a spot gloss on the background, kind of a silvery spot gloss, which gives you a little bit more of a subtle insight into the shape that you're seeing. Often looking at different depictions of the same shape and different orientations and composition, right? All of those. So our friend the asterisk, the spiritual glitter of sigils, all right? Always fun. So 42 of those. Also notice it is a much smaller size than my other oracles because you don't need all of that image area. It is a little bit bigger than playing card size, more like one of the small tarot decks, right? Fits very nicely into your hands. For all of you who have been saying, these cards are too big for my hands, you're going to be so happy with these cards because they fit. I have small hands. They fit very nicely into your hands. So easy to shuffle. Also, good cardstock. The back also has a spot gloss on it that is textured. So it is really nice on the hands to feel that subtle design on there, and it shuffles really, really well. So, so happy with these. So you've got the shapes and symbols, and then you have 4 elemental cards. So we have fire, water, air, and earth. It's hiding behind here. Everything's in reverse here. All right, so like, what do I use these for? These are for spellcraft and for ritual, and also considering the elemental energy and how you might be using your sigils or what you want to incorporate into them. So I thought that was very important to have that, but you can always pull those aside. And then you have 8 design cards. And these are for when you're laying out symbols. They give you a little bit more of a hint of maybe think about this, such as placing an object below. As you can see, there's an arrow there, and it's saying below, right? This is our target area above here, placing it south of that, or placing it within, right? A symbol that goes within your sigil. You can consider symmetry as part of your design. That could have meaning. You could have asymmetry as part of your design. And of course, the rest of them are within, below, without, right? Before, after, all of those. So those are really handy for considering, how do I construct this? What is the composition of my sigil as I'm putting this into being? And then, as I mentioned, there were 6 other cards. And it's not your screen. These are actually blank. Right, so you have 3 glossy, you see that gloss? And then you have 3 matte ones. The glossy ones I've designed for you to use a dry erase marker. So you can take a dry erase marker and put whatever symbols are, that haven't included out of the 42, because there's 42. There are so many different marks out there, and maybe there's something that's a rune or a particular letter, something that you personally connect with, you might want to add. Or maybe you're exploring, especially like with a rune. Maybe you're exploring it for a little while and you want to add it to your deck and then take it away and add a new rune. You can do that with these and the dry erase marker and a little bit of rubbing alcohol to get rid of them. For the more permanent ones, you have the matte. So you can use a Sharpie to permanently apply whatever marker symbol you want to add to your deck. So Super handy, thought of that. So we have symbols and shapes, we have elemental cards, we have design cards, and then we have the blank cards. Now, when it comes to the book, this is a really important thing, right? As I really struggle with how do I list these things in the booklet? And the way it goes is the symbols are listed in their complexity. So we start with the closed dot. I'll show you this. We'll get back to the how to use the deck part, but this is an important thing that I feel like people skip over, and then I see them struggle because they didn't read the book. Right? Closed dot. Here you go. All right. Our very first thing starts with the closed dot. You see a description, you see a meaning, you see some keywords, how to connect with this particular image, right? We also have ideas on how to apply it in a design context as well as some magical context in there. And then notes, room for notes, right? Because you are going to have more information to write down there. And then it builds in complexity. So open dot is the next one. We go into clusters. We go horizontal line, vertical line, diagonal line, trail lines, wavy lines, spirals, zigzags, chevrons, X marks, cross marks, etc. It just keeps building. Right. Now, that might be a little bit hard in some ways. This is what we thought. We thought a whole lot about this. And when I say we, it's me and the team at Llewellyn going back and forth, like, how do we make this easy for folks? There is a table of contents that lists everything in order, and then there's an index. So the index is going to be your quickest way to get to, oh, I pulled air. Air is on this page there. So you have two tools at the front and the back of the book to help you deal with finding the card to look deeper into it. And the other thing, so we have the book is split into, as I first said, the symbols and the marks. And then we get into the elements. We have the design cards. And then I've also left room for you to add your cards in there, your blank cards, so that you can also record that information in this wonderful booklet. So not only is the guide about the cards, but it's also about the Sigil Witchery method. So even if you haven't read Sigil Witchery or taken one of my workshops, you are going to be introduced to the deck. We'll talk about what a sigil is as I see it, have been working with it for a very long time. I break down the method for you, right? The 4 steps, only 3 are necessary. And then we go through an example of how to craft one. So I kind of show you how that works in there. So you get a little bit of a feeling about that. And then we go into how to use this deck. So you can use it for designing sigils, for drawing practice, for daily meditation, for creating movement meditations, which is one of my favorite, for divination as well. All right, so a lot of different uses, probably even more. You'll figure out even more than what I've outlined in here. But it's a tool. It is such a fantastic tool that is going to help you deep, words are hard, dive much more deeply into your creative self, your unconscious self, and be able to pull that out so that you do feel more creative and more capable as a human being to create art. And keeping in mind that art does not have to be something that hangs in a museum or a gallery, like art as how you're interacting with the world around you, the drawings that you make for meditation, the way that you engage in your space, the way that you might physically design a ritual and how it moves. All of these things, right? This is a guide for that. And what's also really fun, so for example, if you're going to create a sigil and you're like, I'm not sure what I'm going to use, and you pull some cards and some of you're like, oh, now I'm really inspired. I'm going to use this for that and that for that. Oh, but this isn't the right card for anything. But I think something else might be, right? It's meant to be able to play with your brain a little bit more so that you can engage those problem solving processes so that you do recognize, how do you think and feel about these things? So do you know what's right? You start to trust your intuition more. So that's what this is for. All of these things. And as I said, it will be available very shortly from Llewellyn. You can pre-order a signed copy on my website, which I'm going to throw up the URL right there. Oh, look, it's moving. And I'm also going to be going to announce the date shortly. It will likely be in mid-December of a special workshop where I'm going to go through and explain all of these processes with you so that you can feel confident confident, and just generally awesome on being able to use this deck in your practice. So you can currently right now sign up for both a pre-order signed copy as well as the workshop if you're in the US. I'm only shipping within the US right now. Sorry, folks. Shipping is complicated, really expensive. But for those of you who are outside of the US, you can also sign up for just the workshop via the online classes part of my website as well. And there are 3 tiers for that too, depending on where you are. If you're at a student level, regular, or you want to help other people also take the workshop. And unlike most of my workshops that I do online, this is going to be recorded. So you will be able to go back to the video and reference it and work with it as well. Even if you miss the live session, like all of that, it's going to be recorded. So what you got? You have one amazing deck with 60 cards and a guidebook and holographic effects, right? That fit in your hands and that are going to take your practice to a whole new level when it comes to working with shapes and symbols and magic. So I'm very excited to see folks start working with this. We've had a few opportunities on tour to help people play with it, and people are so excited, and that just brings me so much joy. So it will be available shortly. If you are ordering it anywhere else, like you can go to llewellyn.com. Other places online too will list it for pre-order. Keep in mind that it says the official release date is going to be in December because they've had to push things back just to make sure that it does arrive. But we are expecting it to start shipping in November. So thanks so much for watching. If you have any other questions or thoughts, pop them down below and have fun drawing some magic into your life. Bye.